at the bar at our place really means a lot to him and to me. I would like to start with a 4 candles ceremony before I reveal the dedication of this seat. These were the 2 seats that we sat at most often, and so I chose this seat for him to be remembered. So the 4 candles ceremony, I have 4 candles lit here in memory of Bruce. So the first candle represents our grief. We light this candle knowing it's a part of losing you. The pain of losing you is intense. It reminds us of the depth of our love for you. The second candle represents our courage. We light the candle to honor the courage to confront our sorrow, to comfort each other, and to change our lives. The third candle represents your memory. We light this candle for the times we laughed, the times we cried, the times we were angry, the times we were silly, for the caring and joy you gave us. And the fourth candle represents our love. We light this candle to signify that your light will always shine. We light this candle to signify that your light will always shine in the special place in our hearts reserved for you. We thank you for the gift your living brought to us all. We love you and we remember you. I also have stories. People who didn't make it have sent stories to me that they wanted to share. I have some of my own, but I think without further ado, also there are memory cards here for each of you to take if you so choose. But without further ado, I think it's time that we unveiled Bruce's special seat at the bar, which will always be here for him. And if you cannot see it, it says, in loving memory of our friend Bruce, there will always be an IPA waiting here for you.
Wow.
So let us all just toast really quickly. Cheers to Bruce, and cheers to all of you for loving him and for loving me. I love you all.
Love you too. We love you.
Love you. So I think I will start with a few stories just to get the ball rolling and so nobody feels shy. Some go way back into like the 90s, and some are more current. So there was this one time when he was living on Robinson Street. So shout out to the roommates that are here, Thor. One day he ordered a pizza. Now Bruce was so incredibly smart. Those of you that knew him knew that he was like probably the smartest person that you ever met in your life. I mean, he knew more useless trivia about stupid shit than anybody ever knew. But he owned a room and it was always us against him alone in Trivial Pursuit, and he always won. But this one day we ordered a pizza, and when the pizza came, he was standing at the door and he couldn't figure out how much money to give the guy who was delivering the pizza. And he just like kind of looked at me and scratched his head. And I just told him, give him this much. I don't even remember what it was, and he was like, he looked at me like, thank you. He never liked to admit when I was doing something that he couldn't do, you know? And one time, so he lived right down the street from the Ale and Witch. So if you guys know that place, that was our place for quite some time until we grew up and became more interested in the quality of the beer than the location of the bar. So we were at the Ale and Witch, and we broke up for about 12 hours. And he went to the Ale and Witch with his friends, and I went to the Ale and Witch with my friends. And at the time, the bartender and owner was Bob, so rest in peace, Bob. He passed away early, and we're so sad about that. But I was at one end of the bar with my friends. He was at the other end of the bar with the guys. And Bob comes up to me and he goes, oh, hey, your boyfriend's down there. And I was like, yeah, I know. Like, he didn't know. And it was only 12 hours. We couldn't last that long without each other. So 12 hours was all it could be, And he was really funny because he was so passionate early on about his sports teams. And he would get so pissed off if they lost. I mean, I'm talking, I never saw such anger before. He was so angry. And I remember he would like throw a cup across the room or something, or the phone book once. But he could never leave it because he's Austrian. So he would run and quick pick it up because he couldn't have anything out of place. Like he just had to run and pick it up. He would get that anger out and then run and pick it up. Typical Bruce. And you might not know that when I was first diagnosed with, or I was going through testing to get my diagnosis of MS, I didn't have any functional use of my hands. I couldn't tie my shoes. These are things that he did for me for the last 20 plus years, tying my shoes. And that first year, I remember I wanted to wear sandals to school the next day, but I hadn't gotten a pedicure yet. So Bruce sat down with my red nail polish and he painted my nails better than I ever could because he was a painter and he never allowed me to help out when it came time to paint around the house. But he painted my toenails with such precision, it really was a work of art. We loved road tripping. Our first road trip that we ever took was spring break of our junior year. And we drove down to Lynchburg to see Meg, who was at college there. And we weren't dating yet. We were just the best buddies that we were for the years before we started dating. And Meg had written directions for us. This was in the 90s, so there was no MapQuest or anything like that. MapQuest is even gone now. We have our Google Maps, So Meg wrote us directions, and they were so specific. And she would say, "Don't fret." In the directions, this is going to happen. Don't fret. So we were doing that the whole way. Don't fret. Don't fret. And then we were trying to, like every merge, we would be making funny sounds at the word merge and hazmat. Like there were all kinds of jokes that came out of that weekend. And I remember there were some rough roads and he was like, "I'm not gonna lie, this feels pretty good on my balls." So I was like, "Thank you for sharing." And I also taught him how to pump gas on that trip because being from New Jersey and not having left the state much, he didn't know how to pump his own gas. But I did, so I taught him how to pump gas. But one of the best times on one of our road trips was in Burlington, Vermont, which was our place. We usually went twice a year. And we went to an escape room at their beer festival. They have a beer festival every year. And we're in the escape room with my friend Karen, who's not here, but who has been spending some time with Bruce. Without saying much more, we were in the escape room, and Karen had put her little wristlet down, and Bruce kept picking it up and saying, "This is a clue. This is a clue." And Karen's like, "Bruce, that is not a clue, that's my bag." And then he would forget and there was some beer involved. And he would keep on picking it up and going, "This is a clue. This is a clue. What does this mean?" And I'm like, "It means it belongs to Karen, it's hers." So, and he will also plan out our meals, or his meals. So 2 weeks ahead of time, he'd be like, "Okay, so the first morning, we're gonna go to the Penny Clues, and I'm gonna get French toast and a heady topper." This was how he works, and you know what I realized? That Scott does the same thing. He reads a menu, he studies it before he goes to a restaurant, and so does my mother-in-law. I'm seeing her for Mother's Day. She read me the Mother's Day brunch menu, and she told me all the things that she's gonna eat. Just saying, so it's a family trait, I guess, On our 16th wedding anniversary, when we were in Cape Cod on a road trip, because we loved road tripping, as I said, we, on our anniversary, spur of the moment, decided to get a tattoo. Tiny tattoo, like less than a ½ inch, so tiny. And we did it, and he went first, and he had Ren on his right ankle, and I have Brew on my left. I put Brew on my left side because that's my weaker side from MS. So I always needed him on my left side. You notice at all of our selfies together, I'm on the right side, or I'm on this side, he's on this side because my hand works better on the right side. So anyway, we walked around like telling each other, my God, we're such badasses. We just got a tattoo. Who the fuck are we? And it's like so tiny. I mean, it must have taken 10 minutes. Honestly, it's the tiniest little thing ever. Who would have known? I have like 8 more since then, and 4 of them are dedicated to him. So, you know, it's pretty amazing. So there's that. And I remember when he got his the first car that he ever had with Apple Play. And you know, he had a horrible commute. It was 12 miles, but it was all Route 1. All Route 1. So sometimes it would take him an hour or longer just to get to 12 miles down the road. And so I could watch him on my phone to see where he was. And I saw him standing still. And I knew that when he was standing still, that the windows were open. So I would text him. And then he told me that when he played the text, Siri would say, Rennie says, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. And then everybody all around him was laughing in the traffic because his windows were open. Those are the kinds of things that we did. We screwed with each other like that, and it was so fun. I just have 2 more things, and then I'm going to offer the mic up to anybody else. And then I'll intersperse some of the ones that people sent me that they wanted me to share that couldn't be here. So I think that a lot of people might not know the more romantic side of Bruce, but he was. And he was the love of my life. So when we got married in Las Vegas, there wasn't really a proposal. We just kind of decided we were going to do it, and we did. And it was just the 2 of us. We didn't bring anybody with us. We broadcasted on a very primitive webcam. That's what existed back then. And so I think we were just married 16 years, or almost to celebrate 16 years. And we had a date night in New Brunswick, which wasn't uncommon at all for us. So we were walking around all of our favorite parts of campus, which is what we did. That was something that was not unusual. And me being clueless, I didn't think anything of it. So we go over to Willie the Silent, and we were taking pictures there. And I'm setting up the selfie stick, and he's behind me right in front of Willie. And he goes, hey, Ren. And I turned around, and I was like, yeah? And he's sitting on one knee with a ring, and he's holding it up to me. And he said, Ren, I love you. Will you marry me retroactively? It was one of the happiest moments of my life. It was something that totally caught me off guard. I know that he, for years, felt really badly about not having this great proposal story. But he made it up to me in huge ways. So I was totally taken aback, and we all know how this girl loves her diamonds, and he did a great job. He picked it out all by himself, and I was so proud. And we had a very romantic dinner date. We went to a place that we normally wouldn't go to. And of course, we stopped here for a beer before our dinner reservation, because that's what we did. And it was such a super happy day for both of us. And the last story I want to share is pretty funny. It happened at the beach house. So we Frankens have been blessed to have the opportunity to have 2 weeks at the beach every summer in Beach Haven on LBI. And Dana, I think Luke was 5 at the time, and Dana had told us, don't say anything about food. Luke is in a phase. So don't say anything. So like, you don't say that you don't like something, you like it. Okay, well, all agreeable. So we go out. Now the beauty of this beach house is that the deck overlooks the beach. We're on the second floor, we get a beautiful view. Bruce loved hanging out on that deck. The boys, no, he didn't go with that, no. The boys loved to drink on that deck. And Bill was a big part of that, just saying. He's like that. But anyway, so I'm going in the door, he's coming out with Luke. And I don't know what the food was. And Bruce is saying, yeah, I don't like that. And Luke, of course, because he's in this phase, goes, I don't like that either. And I said, Bruce, like, it's the one thing that we were told. And you know what he said to me? He said, he started it. Luke was 5. Bruce was like, what, 47 or something. I don't remember what year that was. He was in his late 40s. But Luke started it, he was 5. So these are all memories of Bruce. Like, I could tell a million stories through 30 years, plus the other years of just being best friends. But I think that other people should share their thoughts. I want this to be a happy day. I mean, Bruce would be so excited to see that this will forever be his seat. And it gives me so much pleasure that Neil has been so gracious to do this and to allow this to be placed here. It's not just the first one, maybe more people will do it in the future, but it's so special to me, and I know to Bruce as well. So thank you all for being here and for celebrating happily, remembering Bruce joyfully the way that he would want. And I know that he would want some of these stories told. So, is there anybody who wants to come to the mic? Carlos?
I'm gonna work my way up to it.
All right, Tom, Rich, I know you've been working on them. I can always read on behalf of what others sent as well, but you know, people don't want to just hear me talk.
He'll figure something
Because I could talk all day about Bruce.
Okay, so those that know me know that I have been engaged on more than one occasion.
Thanks, you took mine.
That's her. So each time I got engaged, Bruce said the same thing. What are you doing? What are you thinking? Why in the world are you doing this? So I was engaged 3 times. He said that the first 2 times to me. The 3rd time he said it to
Me.
my wife. So, because basically he said, if you mess this one up, we're keeping her and we're dumping you. So, yep, that's what I got.
That's a good one.
Who's next? You want to say something, Kyle? No, okay, that's all right. Sorry I took your story, Britt.
No, you're not.
Anybody ready? Is sent by Steve Pick. Steve and Bruce went to high school together. So he said to me, you know some of my stories, but I doubt you will know this one. I did know it. There's no story you could tell that I don't know. We've been together so long, I know them all. We told each other everything. I met Bruce when I was 13 on one of the first days of high school at Wayne Valley in 1986. Back then, students had to wait outside before the first bell rang. I think that's when we started talking to each other, or maybe it was homeroom when we started talking. Regardless, I know we were together for gym class. That semester, we were playing handball. Our version of handball was racquetball without the racket. And for some reason, mostly upperclassmen were taking the class. Bruce and I sat in a corner away from most of them. Anybody who knows Bruce, that is so typical. To avoid sports unless you're watching them on TV. Hitting the blue racquetball hurt my soft hands, and Bruce didn't like the stinging sensation either. I bought a pair of black gloves. I'm a lefty, and only needed one glove for my left hand. Bruce was a righty, and used the right hand glove. We were quite a pair. Me, a small boy who hadn't yet gone into puberty, and Bruce was much larger, each wearing one black glove, playing against each other. Two things happened that first semester in Miss Demrick's handball class. First, Bruce and I were never going to live this moment down. We were destined to be virgins until college. Second, we became best friends. Everybody thought that they were best friends with Bruce. Isn't that amazing? Because that's just how he was. From that first semester until graduation, I spent nearly every weekend at Bruce's house in his attic bedroom. We listened to music, lots of Clapton, talked about the girls we liked, but stood zero chance of dating, plotted against everyone we didn't like, and listened to hours of Howard Stern. Thankfully, we didn't watch sports or read comics, because he didn't impose those things on anybody. Once Bruce was old enough to drive, we spent evenings cruising around northern New Jersey. Bruce knew all the little towns and roads because he painted with his father, and they would commute to all of their clients. Bruce and I talked for hours and hours. The specifics of most of these conversations are lost to time, but I clearly remember how much we needed each other to survive those 4 difficult high school years. I miss Bruce a lot. There isn't anyone who appreciates Blazing Saddles or the producers like he did. We had so many inside jokes that I can no longer share with anybody. I feel like years of my life are missing because Bruce was my only surviving witness. So toast to my high school bestie, Brew. I think of you all the time, dear friend, and miss you terribly. With love, Steve Pitt. So let's do that toast for Steve. Cheers to Bruce.
Drink this is cheers.
Anybody ready to tell the story? Okay, here comes my Thomas.
All right, I could tell, there's a million stories that we can all tell, and I went back and forth with them, and it's a funny story, like Bruce drinking too much Pruncello. If you know what Pruncello is, you know.
Oh, we gotta tell that story.
Or, you know, him being topless, or, we'll leave it at that. And there's so many fun stories. But I wanted to tell a heartfelt story, just because, I don't know, maybe we're looking for the ugly cry, Christine. So now,
Ugly cry.
so
I should watch Christine.
in 2006 and 7, I went, I'll tell this is kind of two-parter. I was deployed, and we've been doing fantasy football for how many years? 27? 30 years we've been doing this fantasy football league. And I couldn't really run my team, so Bruce took over my team, and I always had fun names, and he called my team, this is my first little Bruce story, he called my team Called to Duty. DOODIE. So I appreciate that, and that gives you, I really appreciate that because we've kind of carried that theme, the duty, but through for many, many years. But the last heartfelt story is I came home from that, and as soon as I saw Bruce, and he looked at me, he came up to me, and it was the first time, like, he looks in my eyes with this heartfelt, like serious, which Bruce and I generally have never really been serious. But he looks at me, he gives me a hug, and he says, "I'm glad you didn't die." And it was the most serious I've ever seen Bruce in his life. And it's one of my favorite stories. It's not funny, it's just heartfelt, but we tell a lot of funny stories about Bruce, but he had an amazing, just emotional side to him that I don't know if everybody knows. I know a lot of you do, but it really meant a lot to me. So I wish he was still here because I love that story, but I just want to share that one with you. I don't tell that a lot, so thanks.
So, I used to coach football with Scott back in Somerville, and I got to know Bruce obviously through Scott and the rest of the loads playing fantasy football, and there were many nights and days where I would text back and forth with Bruce about anything from ridiculous old horrible horror movies to debates about Godzilla enemies fighting each other and everything like that. What was great about Bruce was Bruce always was acceptable of everyone for who they were, and he always wanted people to just do what made them happy. One of our very silly things that Bruce and I had in common was our love of Lego. I have no problem admitting it. I'm 39 years old, I build Lego like crazy. Funkhauser, you do it too, so don't. Okay, there you go. So,
He was 50,
I know.
yeah.
Well, it's also my fault. I gotta do it anyway. But anyway, so Bruce always had his way of being sarcastic, but being serious, but making his point. And I'll never forget, we were talking one time about like what our favorite fantasy set to ever have. And I said to him, I said, the Ghostbusters Firehouse. I would love to get a Ghostbusters Firehouse. Because I'm poor like that. And he said, oh, it's a fun build, yeah, good stuff, good. Have some buttered noodles while you build that. And I didn't tell my fiance now at the time when I purchased it, because it's a very old set, it's very expensive, something like that. And me being the big dork that I am, I was so excited when I got it and I shared it out. And I'll never forget when I sent the photo, my phone rang, and it was Bruce. And he goes, you did it? And I go, yeah, I did it. He goes, I am so fucking proud. He goes, way to embrace you being you. Always keep having fun with it. And just, I miss Bruce every day. Bruce was the man. I did have a dream one time, not long after Bruce had passed. I would still text him. And we all talk about Bruce every day. We all do. And I had a dream one night. Where it was at Scott and Dane's house. And we were making pizzas. And I went inside in the dream, and Bruce was upstairs in the kitchen. And you've had those dreams where you can say things, control yourself, and I didn't say anything. I just froze. And Bruce was at the fridge, and he turned, and he said, Robbie, it's okay. I'm okay. And I think about that a lot, because I miss my friend Bruce. And Bruce was the man, and obviously he had an impact on all your lives. And I love asking these guys over here all the time, tell me another story. We all love Bruce. I love Bruce. I looked up to him like a father. But he's okay. And that makes me happy. Someone else.
Thanks, Rob. Who really wanted to be here, but she had back-to-back weddings. So Nikki happened to be one of Bruce and Thor's roommates when they were living off campus after college. So she says, there's nothing I can say that you don't already know about Bruce's humor, big heart, and passionate, strong opinions. I always enjoyed being around him and calling him my friend. since meeting as freshman year in college. Post-college, we lived together for a few years, and he was one of my favorite roommates of all time. As the only female living with 3 guys who were respectful and clean, it's a miracle, right? You never find that. But it was Thor and Bruce, so I mean, if you know either one of them, you know. I don't have to have any explanation there. I had an absolute blast those years, and Bruce was a huge part of it. We had a ton of fun making up rules as we competed with each other, playing hall ball, planning basement parties together, drinking at the Ale and Witch right down the street, and taking our annual Deadpool way too seriously as we track celebrity deaths all year long. Bruce introduced me to Howard Stern, and I'm forever grateful. At multiple giant parties and many random nights hanging out with small groups of friends, he and I would inevitably break out into karaoke and sing songs from the Xanadu movie soundtrack. Our shared love of singing Olivia Newton-John and ELO songs from a musical fantasy roller skating movie was something special. I'll also say, I'm adding this in, that when they sang Xanadu, Bruce sang the high parts and Nikki sang the low parts. Just saying. And Bruce wore a tiara mostly while this happened. I often think about one of my favorite random Bruce declarations, "I don't sit on grass," and laugh out loud as I remember how he simply refused to sit down with us while hanging out in a local New Brunswick park that we rollerbladed to. I can't believe he rollerbladed there and then refused to sit down with the rest of us. We all kicked off our blades and we were sitting down, and he's just standing there with his arms crossed, and that's when he proclaims, "I don't sit on grass." Just like he doesn't step in sand at the beach either. It's just how it works with him. When my son Nicholas was born, Bruce and Rennie were one of the first people to visit in the hospital, even before family members. Tough guy Bruce held my son and instantly transformed into the sweet and protective Uncle Bruce. What a big heart he had. My friend, roommate, and forever karaoke singing partner, and I miss him dearly, Nikki. Anybody else? Okay, Christine.
3 Bruce stories. First, we all talked about his laugh, and there was some stuff on Facebook the other day. We watched Team America together. You were there. And there's a scene in the movie where the character's puking, and Bruce is just laughing and laughing, and I am laughing so hard, I'm literally crying, I'm sobbing. He's making me laugh so hard because that was Bruce.
That scene goes on
Forever.
way long.
Forever.
Yeah.
It's
I mean-
uncomfortably long.
It is, it really is.
Somebody mentioned the pruncello story. So Bruce decided that he wanted to try something other than beer. So my husband Tom makes cellos, so he made him pruncellos special because he loved like bar. Let's just say it hit Bruce real hard. And we had done, I think,
that night.
Thanksgiving theme, that it was New Year's, and he's in my kitchen and I had dropped a marble cutting board on the floor, and he went down and up to grab this thing, I think about 6 times, and I was like, let me get that for you, because it wasn't happening. And then he went in the dining room and poured himself a soda, and the foam was over the cup, like real high. And I remember Rennie looking at him going, pointing that finger, stop. And then he sat down at my table, and we realized he is really drunk. And Rennie's like, I need rules, stat. And she's giving them to him, two at a clip. And I think he ate about a dozen before we were done. Still,
I was ready to take him to DR.
it was bad.
That was the last time he drank anything that
It
wasn't
was
beer.
bad. The final one, we tailgated a lot for Rutgers. Probably for 20 years, I think we tailgated together. So there's a lot of stories, but there was probably towards the end of our tenure doing it, before Tom and I moved to Maryland. He was at our house, and it hit him like that. Like, he was good, and all of a sudden he's drunk. And he's standing, Tom,
Do you want me to hold that?
Yes.
I'll hold the mic for you.
So, so he's standing in front of our TV area, like where our gaming systems are, and all of a sudden he starts going, whoa, whoa, swinging arms, and he just goes, bam, hits the floor. It was hilarious. Yeah.
Like gravity, literally gravity stopped affecting him. He just lost all control of everything. It was like, whoa.
And when Tom told our son what had happened, who at the time was, I don't know, little. He's now 21. He's a grown man. Tom, you have to do the laugh. I can't do the laugh. But there was this
We're like,
laugh our
all
little
right.
child did.
We literally did the, hey, so Tommy comes in the room and he's like, why is the Wii all messed up? And we're like, Uncle Bruce, he tripped and kind of fell next to it. And we're like, all right, he drank a lot and he fell. And he goes, ha! And that was it. 'Cause I don't want to say he didn't expect it from Uncle Bruce, but it wasn't unexpected, but it was like, ha! And just walked away.
So those are my stories.
From the mouth of babes. Some of you might remember him, some maybe not, but he was trying to get here, and Steve also has MS like I do, and he had a really hard work week, and so he had to adjust his plans. And as somebody who suffers from a chronic illness, we understand that this is always a possibility. But he definitely wanted me to share this story, and I think that this is a really good story, and that a lot of you might not know about this one. So he titles his memory to me, Masters of Reality Farewell Tour in 1992. While all of our memorable lunches in high school, to the bagel shop, to the T-Bowl shopping center in Wayne were memorable, discussing our love of rock and roll, Bob and Doug McKenzie, Major League Baseball and the NFL, nothing compares to meeting Ginger Baker from Cream in 1992. I will always remember that day in 1992 at Livingston College. Before cell phones and the internet, Brew somehow learned that the Masters of Reality, a hard rock and roll band, was set to take the stage at the old dingy student center at Livingston College. Why? Well, they had announced a farewell tour, and somehow Livingston was the beneficiary of this once-in-a-lifetime concert. Brew ran over to my quad and told me we needed to go to it. We needed to go to this concert because Ginger Baker from Cream, Eric Clapton, Jack Bruce, and Ginger from the 1960s was actually going to be the drummer at the show. I told him the show was on a Friday night and he understood the sacrifice. But he said we still needed to go. So we ended up going. Brew thought we might be able to meet him since we did a radio show for WRLC. How many of you remember that? I was on the air many times. The show was lightly attended and was standing room only, meaning the student center didn't put out any chairs for this event. Bruce made sure we waited for them in the lobby. We didn't think it would happen as they were 30 minutes late, but Brew was determined until Ginger, who looked like he had partied all night the night before, walked into the student center. We welcomed him to Livingston College, and he ended up autographing our Blind Faith cassette tapes. If not for Brew's resolve, we wouldn't have met him and would have missed the Masters of Reality Farewell Tour in 1992. Who knew? They're still touring in 2024. Let's toast to our beloved Brew and his persistence.
Sorry. I had to wait for the edible to kick in, so I know that there are children here. I apologize to your parents. for what's about to unfold because I'm going to
Once
tell.
our parents is rich, it's going to be okay.
I'm going to tell a story that Bruce loved to talk about the old Cancun trip, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about that. And honestly, he would be proud for how filthy this is going to be. So this might be a good time to take the kids to the bathroom. So back before internet, we're at college. We decided we're going to go on spring break. This is our junior year. And we stupidly, now as a responsible adult, stupidly, looking back, we took a little piece of paper off of a flyer to go on vacation. We called the number, we gave them our parents' credit card information, and we decided to go to Cancun for spring break. And it was myself, it was Bruce, and two other degenerates who are not here, Chris Pasquarello and Dave Quinn. And it turned out to be like a really ridiculous vacation. 4 completely unfuckable people going down to Cancun, sorry, to try and see what happens, right? So back when there was snow, we had a huge blizzard that locked us in. We didn't think we were going to be able to get out. Somehow Rich Billock was at my house. I don't even remember what, he wasn't even going on the trip. He was just hanging out. And we drive to the Newark airport where we sat there for about 17 hours waiting to get on this plane. And it was filled with degenerate college students wearing sombreros and yelling stupid stuff, trying to get on this plane. And honestly, it felt like the last helicopter out of Hanoi. We got onto this plane, and the last one's on. We'd been awake for 36 hours. We landed in Cancun, and we were all sitting apart. We were like, he was way up in the front. He's waving to me. I'm like 30 rows back. And we land in Cancun, and we get on the bus, and they hand us, like 6 o'clock in the morning, they hand us Dos Equis beer. And I was sitting next to him on this rinky-dink bus, and we toasted, and it was the best hand beer we ever had in our lives. I remember that. Because it just felt like we felt young, we were happy, who knows what was going to happen next, but, we thought it was going to be great. So we go, we have all these wild adventures in Cancun, and we had a lot of fun, and there was a lot of projectile vomiting, and prostitutes grabbed people's genitals. It was a whole thing. It was like crazy. But believe it or not, looking back, we were actually pretty tame. It was like 4 nerds, a Revenge of the Nerds going on on vacation. They lost their luggage, so Bruce had to wear the same underwear for like 4 days in a row. It was not pretty for anybody. Anybody who knows Dave Quinn knows he's a filthy animal. He tries to see who would have to sleep next to him. That was Bruce. And Bruce had a couple unpleasant mornings waking up to a naked Dave Quinn in his bed. Anyway, that's like, I look back on this and we would tell this story every time we got together because it was like the height of being young, stupid, broke. We were at the beginning of our lives, and it was really special. It was just a pleasure to think back on that and remember the times when we were like brothers. So that's my story.
Thanks, Car.
I was asked to tell this one by Christian, actually. Christian, my oldest, is 12, and he's a boy, so he likes, to hear farts. So Bruce would randomly send texts of him farting to me, and I would play them for Christian, and this kid would just crack up laughing. And he absolutely loved it. And I'd be like, "Here, Christian, here's another one from Bruce." He'd be like, "Oh, really?" Those were some of his favorites. Yep. So, anyone else? Come here, Kyle.
only one more story, so you guys better step it up. This one is from Colleen Daly Martinez. She was needing to come, she got sick yesterday. She says, I actually don't have a story about Bruce. I have one specific experience with him, or one extra funny story. I just have my story of Bruce. I met Bruce at the beginning of our freshman year, was close with him for a few years at Rutgers, and continued to be in touch off and on for 33 years until the day before he died. If I saw Bruce every single day like I did in freshman year, it was natural and easy and genuine. If I hadn't seen Bruce in 10 years and we reconnected, it was the same, natural and easy and genuine. Bruce was never pretentious, even when he was a teenager. He never tried to impress people or act a certain way to look cool. Bruce was real. Bruce was always great at connecting, genuinely expressing interest in you and your life. Even the day before he died, with everything he was going through, sitting in his hospital bed, he asked how I was, how my daughter was, how my husband was, and he was genuinely interested. That's my story of Bruce. He was a genuine guy, a real friend. As I send my daughter off to college this year, I can only hope and wish that she might make a friend like Bruce her freshman year. We all need a friend like Bruce, someone who is genuine and real. I wish I had him for longer. I wish we all had him for longer. I wish his family had him for longer. And I wish Rennie had him for longer. Me too. 30 years wasn't enough. I needed about 30 or 40 more, and that still wouldn't be enough. So, anyway, so that's from Colleen. Is there anyone else? Look at all those guys back there. They look like they're up to no good over there. What are you guys?
Bunkhauser. You did it.
You look guilty.
Red, perfect.
Thank you. Anybody else want to tell a story? Tim, you got something? No pressure.
I don't really have a story about Bruce per se. Just I know the last story. Just even when I just Tom's nephew, just some punk kid who just took a genuine interest. You were always able to connect about music or movies or anything. I remember I still have them. Actually found them pretty recently and gave me some records. I think it was Pink Floyd's Songs to Dance to, as a matter of fact. Just uncovered that, and I remember texting Rennie when I found it. Have to put it on. Just in it for Bruce, and just the guy has his own things going on, but always took the time to just try and connect with everyone, make sure that felt heard, felt seen, just had some genuine connection. And the world's a little dimmer without him here, but still in our hearts, still in our minds, and love for Bruce will never go away.
Thanks, Tim.
It's all here, and it is by the beautiful Leah Marks, my cousin, my friend since birth. Yeah, I'm a little older, so I've known her whole life, but anyway, so Leah, you gonna come? Yeah. Okay.
To what you will see, and you might not be happy. I might need everybody's vote at the end of this, but you know, I had a conversation with somebody last night, well, maybe more than one person, and he said, if all of a sudden I'm in my kitchen and the lights start flickering. And the lights and I'm like, okay, and and I'm thinking, I'm sitting here with what I have, and I'm thinking. And so I said, you know what? screw Rennie. Okay? Rennie, me and Bruce agree that you need to have this. It's about time. You cannot say no to me anymore. You need to have this, so please open it. And I also want to say with that, how honored I am that at the end of the wedding, Bruce gave this to me. Okay, and since the wedding, I've had it on my basket on my night table, sitting around it, and I look at it all the time, and I think of it, and I'm like, Rennie needs to have it. I've thought this before, and now that you have your beautiful place, and Bruce has his own room, and he said he wants us to share it, okay? But he wants to live with you. And I didn't know Bruce very well. You know, there was only a number of times, limits. And for him to give this to me, I mean, we got along instantaneously, like he did, he tells most people. And he really, of course, I love to laugh, you know, that laughter is the best medicine for me. And he made me laugh every single time. Oh, it was great, right? Yay! Thank you for taking it. And not saying no this time. Okay.
Yeah. I know I got you through it, so. But that's why I said it's your turn.
I'm willing to share. But for now, it can go back to you.
Bruce gave it to you. You have it. I'm like,
He did. He gave it to you. So today I said, you know, and I really liked really did start from your last night, not saying that.
He loves to play with power.
And I can tell, yeah, and I can tell, even though we have lights on.